Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat. I don't know about you, but I've been waiting a very long time for this movie. That being said, I don't claim to be a die-hard fan. I've played a couple of the video games, and I remember watching the original one, though I will say I don't completely remember what the original one was like, and I didn't revisit it before this one. Purposefully so. I didn't want to actually compare them. So I may go back and check it out again now. But I have seen the new Mortal Kombat that just came out that we all waited so long for. And I'm here to finally review it with all of you. So let's break it down. Right out the gate, I want to say that this movie was hit or miss. I think there's going to be people who don't hate it, but don't necessarily love it. And then I think there's going to be a lot of people who either love it because they're just really diehard fans and they just the fact that they have a Mortal Kombat movie coming out right now is important to them. And then I think there's people who are just going to hate this movie completely. It is pretty hit or miss for me. I will say though that I did like it overall, and I still hope that it gets at least a sequel, so we can see what else can be done with it, because I think there's a lot of potential. That being said, I don't think this film was executed all that well, especially given how long people have been waiting for it. And I think ultimately it comes down to Warner Brothers once again not necessarily knowing how to adapt things from other materials very well. We see this a lot with their DC movies right now, where they're either really good or they completely miss the mark. And it's becoming a really big problem for them. Horror-wise, they've got it locked down. But Mortal Kombat, I think, is a good example where it really needed more eyes on it and more people who I think could really appreciate the material. The whole invention of the Cole character played by Louis Tan or Tran, I don't know. A lot of people are really into him right now. I have to say, I was not in this movie. I didn't like him in this movie. I didn't care about him. I wasn't rooting for him. And I feel like he's automatically going to be in the sequel. But I really wish he wasn't. And I have to say the story itself had a lot of major issues. For all of the world building they do in this movie, they don't do it very clearly. There's a lot of things that I had a lot of follow-up questions about that I don't think I actually really got any answers to, about how the Arcana makes sense, about how the realms all fit together, why they have a tournament, why all of these things that they just kind of introduced but didn't spend any time going through, which is weird because a lot of the movie doesn't have any fighting in it. But they didn't spend that time giving enough exposition either. So what were they doing? Wasting time. And that becomes a real problem. Also, after waiting the entire movie to find out what Cole's Arcana is, it turned out to be something really stupid. It was a stupid suit with a baton on it. I didn't like it. I didn't think it necessarily fit well with the other characters' Arcana and how they got it and what it looks like and all these things. I just didn't like it. And they built up the entire movie about some prophecy about him being in Scorpion's bloodline, but they don't really ever explicitly say what he's supposed to do, why it has to be him, what's so important about Scorpion's bloodline, and all of these things that go into this prophecy, or why the prophecy even exists. And during the climactic fight, which not only was shown in the trailer, which I have to say there weren't a lot of extra fight scenes that weren't in the trailer, or any really big moments that weren't in the trailer that were all that great in the movie. So that was disappointing. But the climax of the film takes place at an MMA gym, which I also thought was kind of lame. And suddenly the prophecy is all wrapped up. And they don't really explain how that happened or why or what is going on. But it just, the threads just don't really go anywhere in this movie. And they also spent a little bit of time mentioning the tournament and preparing for the tournament, but we never actually get to the tournament. What the hell? The whole movie is supposed to be about this Mortal Kombat tournament, and we never get there. It looks like they're going to wait till the sequel to do that, but why would you do that? And I think that was a huge risk, because this movie was, again, as I said, pretty hit or miss. And I think had it not been a pandemic box office, I don't know that this would have done well enough to get a sequel. I really don't, which is sad, because I do think the material has a lot of franchise potential, but they just don't do anything with it. It's so disappointing. And the fights themselves, the backgrounds look a little wonky. I think the locations are made to feel a little more like the video game in the few like fight scenes we get toward the end. But even that, like it looks out of place, and there's not enough time spent there for me to wrap my head around it. It's pretty slow overall. That being said, there were some good stuff in it. The opening scene I thought was really well done. Sub-Zero was really well done. I don't actually dislike the lore that we got, and the little bit of exposition about what all this stuff is about that we got in the film. It was intriguing enough to keep me interested in the film, but it just didn't go anywhere. It didn't give me any more information, and none of the information I got had a payoff. So it was kind of lackluster overall. But I do think it had potential, so I would like to see more of what can go on there. And once the characters got to fighting, some of that looked really cool, and I would like to see more of that in a Mortal Kombat movie. So hopefully we get more of that next time around. But I do think they're going to need a next time around to make any of this worth it, to be honest with you. But those are just my thoughts. I could spend all day talking about what I liked and didn't like about this movie, but meh. I think it's a good streaming movie. If you have nothing else to do on HBO Max, and you don't want to leave your house, it's a good streaming movie. And I think the fact that it is a pandemic movie happening on streaming right now, as opposed to the original plans, which were to release it in theaters all by itself as a big blockbuster, I think that really saved it in the end, to be honest with you. So I think major changes need to be made for the sequel. I think it needs to be a very different film. But I would still at least check it out. And I would still rewatch this one. Some of the visuals in this one are still pretty good and worth revisiting a little bit. But that's just how I felt about Mortal Kombat. I would give this a solid, maybe a 6 out of 10. And I even feel like I'm being a little nice there. But I'd give it a 6. Meh. But let me know your thoughts about Mortal Kombat in the comments below. Also, make sure to hit the like button on this video if you haven't done that already, and to subscribe if you haven't done that already. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.